Hi, guys! Welcome back to Guided by the Universe. I'm your host, Diana, and have you felt the last week's full moon? Because I definitely have. All right, so as you know, the full moon period, the full moon phase of the moon cycle is one of heightened emotions. It is one where our there's so much chaos in our thoughts, there's so much chaos in our feelings, and you might take important decisions in this time when actually you shouldn't. So in today's episode we're going to talk about decision making based off your feelings, based off your gut, and how to actually take the best decisions that you can. All right, so listen, especially now, this full moon time, this was the last super full moon of 2024. And the super full moon is like a full moon that is extra charged with so much energy and it really glows. So maybe you were in a part of the world where it was not cloudy, just like it was in here in the south of Germany where I live. And you got to see the full beauty of this beautiful full moon. But it was also a time that created so much chaos and havoc inside of us. And personally, I had such a difficult week, the whole entire week. I was stressed, I was overwhelmed, I was overworked, and everything went kind of downhill because everything was like, why can nothing be fucking easy for once? Like, why can I not get a fucking break? 7 days long, it was just so intense. Every experience was so intense. When I felt joy, I felt it intensely. When I was sad or depressed, well, you can imagine how I felt in that period of time. And I'm sure that you felt the same. I'm sure that you felt the same. And some of my girlies were ovulating or were bleeding at this time. And I'm one of the ovulation girls. So honestly, my ovulation hurts a lot more than when I actually get the period because those cramps are out of this world. Like, my uterus is like, one more month without a baby, I'm gonna stab you to death, bitch. Honestly. And so I was contemplating taking big life decisions in this week. And I'm so glad I didn't because I'm so glad that I learned out of my past mistakes because we've been there, done that. So let me tell you some of the bad decisions that I took based off a feeling and based off a gut feeling. So, back in the day, it was 2022, and I was living at my parents' house after a bad breakup. Where I've been living with my former partner. We lived in Munich together, and after he called it quits, I had to go somewhere, obviously, and I was not from Munich, so I was like, naturally, I'm gonna go back to Hamburg with my parents for some time until I figure it out. And because I didn't give myself the time to figure it out, and I didn't give myself the time to grieve the relationship and to um, take all the potential, the growth potential that I could have taken out of this relationship, I was like, I want to progress. I want to get over it. I don't want to feel the pain. I just want to feel success. So let me just move out on my own back to Munich because I actually quite like the city. It doesn't matter if it is with my ex or not, but I really like the city. So I'm just gonna up and leave. I'm just gonna go there with no savings in the bank account, with no means to pay off the what do we call that in English? Like the first money that you have to pay for the apartment, whatever, you know what I mean. And so I was like asking my best friend for money, asking my parents for money, trying to like max out my card just to get a new apartment in the most expensive city in the country. Yeah, and I did it. And so I still remember it very vividly to this day. The very first night that I spent in there, I had a mattress that was about this thick from my best friend that also lived in Munich. And I had a tiny, teeny, tiny blanket and a teeny, tiny pillow. And that was about it. That's all I had. And it was really cold because the radiators weren't on at that time. It was October. It was really cold outside. It was really, really rainy that day. And so I didn't have the best night living in my very first own apartment, but it was definitely worth a core memory because I still remember it very vividly. But, the whole gist is that that decision was made purely out of a feeling of I want to escape this emotional situation that I'm in through the breakup, and I want to like feel independent and successful again and not live with my parents anymore. So I'm just going to make it happen even though I don't have the financial means for that. Needless to say that that apartment was empty, and so I had to buy all of the furniture. But with what funds? I did bad decisions, and because of that, I am still to this day, 2 years later, paying those things off. And I'm not here to complain about the decisions that I made. I am here to tell you about my experience so that hopefully you don't do the same mistake. Especially when it comes to big life decisions like moving out, that includes a lot of money. It does. You might think that living on your own is not that expensive. Well, bitch, it is. Bitch, it fucking is. I've been there, I've done that, and as I said, 2 years later, still paying shit off. Furniture that I don't even have no more. But it is what it is. Ever since then, I didn't do no more such bad financial decisions, which I'm glad of, but I had to learn it the hard way. I definitely had to learn it the hard way. And so, in that period of time, I continued to do bad decisions. Not necessarily financial ones, but like bad existential ones. After half a year had passed, I decided to quit my job because I really, really hated it and to move to Greece. So I sold everything that I had, I gave up the apartment and moved to Greece. On the one hand, the decision to go to Greece, no, the decision to quit the job was the right one because I am always going to quit a job if that compromises my mental health. And that is something that I'm never going to be afraid to admit or kind of embarrassed to say. But when your mental health is compromised, it doesn't matter if it's because of a job, a relationship, a situation, a country that you live in, whatever it might be, go for it. Like, we're talking about gut decisions that don't really compromise your mental health, but it also started to deteriorate my physical health. That's how much I hated it. So I don't regret quitting it. I regret kind of thinking that if I quit that job, I cannot afford the apartment in the most expensive city in Germany. And so I have to give up the apartment and move to another country. I mean, it would have been easier to just look for a different job, but to be very fucking blunt and fair with you, I did not even, that thought did not even cross my mind, even though it is like the most logical thing to think in that situation. But if you are balls deep in your delusion, you don't see the clarity of it no more. So this is the bottom line. If you make decisions out of a feeling and you don't sleep a night, 2 nights, 3 nights over it, you're always going to end up in tricky situations that you could have totally avoided. You could have absolutely totally avoided. And I'm pretty sure that you have been there once or twice in your life. But let me just continue with the story. Moving to Greece for the second time to work there for a season. It was back in Rhodes, back in Faliraki. It's a party city that is kind of dead during the off season time, but on season it's on fire. And that's where I worked the first time when I went to Greece, which was an amazing choice. But the second time when I went to Greece, I kind of went there to look for the same feeling that I felt 3 years prior in 2020. What I did not know at that time was that the return to Germany was going to be so much harder. The return was coming back to no apartment, coming back to no money, coming back to just my cosmetician degree where I decided to not work in that field anymore. So I came back to nothing. And I spent only 2.5 months there because working at a bar was so much more difficult than working as an animator. So I just didn't want to keep pushing myself to do something that doesn't really make me happy. So from then on, that was July of 2023, I've been building myself up, and I've been kind of getting real honest with myself about the things that I truly want to achieve in this life. I learned the concept of dharma, of your soul's purpose, and I got, again, one level deeper into spirituality. By that, I mean I got deeper into Ayurveda, I got deeper into the teachings of Dharma, I got deeper into yoga, like all of this, let's say, Indian rooted kind of wisdom. I got a lot more insight and kind of revelations about my behavior patterns that that led me to make those reckless decisions. And that was because I just kept running and running and running and looking for fulfillment outside of myself, thinking that in Munich I'm going to be a lot better off than in Hamburg. In this relationship I'm going to be more fulfilled and happy. Changing the job field every few months is going to give me the adventure that I seeked out for so long. And I was just running from the problem being that I was not fulfilled on the inside. So it doesn't matter where you go, it doesn't matter what you do. If you don't feel happy doing it, if you don't feel fulfilled doing it, if you don't feel like you're in the right spot in life doing what you do, it literally doesn't matter what you do, where you are, who you're with, if on the inside you don't feel like you belong there. So this was a hard to learn lesson, honestly, and I'm still kind of halfway there. It's still not fully learned because obviously, as cognitive humans, we understand it with our brains first. But until the heart understands it, it's a whole nother story. And the heart doesn't understand by knowledge, the heart understands by experience. And so you learn your new knowledge from your books, from whatever source it is, from a guru, from a documentary, and then you kind of get intrigued and interested in kind of implementing that into your life. And you get to implement that into your life the moment where you start to get out there and get the experience. So this is where you have to exit your comfort zone. Because yeah, it's comfortable to sit at home in your comfort, read a book. It's not that challenging, but it is challenging to actually go out there and implement what you have learned. And you might fail the first time, you might fail the second time, and most of us give up if you're not immediately good at something in the first try. Guilty, absolutely guilty. And I keep coming back to trying to do those things, but I have like a really big span of like inaction sometimes. And a good example for that would be content creating, because you always see it that phase-wise, I'm very active, and then other phases, I'm not at all, because I get discouraged or I get like bored with my concepts or whatever. And the only thing constant in the past 2 years was this podcast. And I'm not quite sure why it was this and not something else. But one thing I know is that it is connected to my dharma. Otherwise, I wouldn't be holding on to it. And otherwise, I wouldn't keep coming back to it. So, making decisions out of a gut feeling is good when you actually feel that intuitive nudge while you are in a normal and stabilized state of feeling. So that means when you feel calm on the inside, when you don't feel like something is lacking, when you don't feel desperate to change a situation that you're in right now, that is when you're balanced, right? But if you feel those things that I just counted, then that's not going to be an intuitive choice. An intuitive choice comes from a higher source. It comes from but it comes from the universe giving you the type of wisdom that you need for your next step. It's like when you play a game and you get like to this next checkpoint and then you get like new information about the quest ahead. That is when you get the download from above. But if you try to frantically look for the next hit, for the next exit, for the next dopamine hit, you're not going to make the right decisions. So ask yourself those two questions. Will this situation still bother me in 2 weeks? And can the decision wait to be made for another 2 weeks? If the answer is no and yes, like, no, it's not going to bother me in 2 weeks, and yes, I can wait for 2 more weeks to make the decision, then take the time to make that decision. And I guarantee that the decision that you would have taken today and the decision that the educated, rational decision that you are going to take in 2 weeks is going to be completely different. And if you still come to the same conclusion after 2 weeks, then you will know for sure that this was a download, this is something intuitive, and this is definitely the right thing to do. So either way, you get clarity, either way, you get direction, you get basically the confirmation that you needed to get before making the decision. Because I know that a lot of people don't feel confident in taking big life decisions, and so they stay the same because people are inherently afraid of change. And being afraid of change comes from a place of not understanding, comes from a place of limiting beliefs, of kind of underestimating what you are capable to do. And why do you feel that way? Why do you have that place in your heart? Don't blame yourself. It is the environment that we're growing up in. We are supposed to stay in our cute little box, go to school, go to university, get a job, raise a family, get the white picket fence house, and that's about it. But if you try to do anything different, nah. You're gonna be hit with a lot of self-destructive behavior. You're going to strip yourself of all of your creativity, all of your creative power, because you're giving up all that power to those higher forces. You're giving up the power to the voices in your head that have been planted there for a reason. You know, in capitalism, you're only good if you pay tax money, if you make money for others. Because tax money is government money, right? But what if you build up your own business? What if you choose to be a nomad? What if you choose to go and live into the Amazon forest? It's not financially well for the government, so they're not going to support this kind of lifestyle, you know? So they're going to try everything to get it out of your head. All right, but to come back to today's topic, the decision making when you feel overwhelmed, and to the moon part. So I told you that as of right now, when I recorded this video, it was, or it is, full moon. So it's a full moon in Taurus, and Taurus is my star sign, if you did not know that. And this full moon in Taurus is here to teach us to seek pleasure and the lush life within ourselves, within the comfort of ourselves, not the comfort of your home. I mean, yeah, that is very superficial, Taurus, but the comfort of your inner self is what is going to accompany you along the way everywhere you go. So if you feel comfortable within yourself, if you feel comfortable with who you are, with what you are achieving, with what you're doing every single day, with what you look like, then you're winning. You are literally winning, and then it doesn't even matter where you're at. It doesn't even matter if you're rich or not, because that's not what it's about, right? And so in this full moon period, you are called to let go of to let go of limiting beliefs, to let go of everything that is not serving you no more, that is holding you back, that is hindering you from reaching your next best self. And I don't know, I just love the time before and after the full moon, where you feel like the energy is getting higher, it's going to peak soon, and things are going to go crazy. But right after that, it's like coming out of the water and being able to kind of breathe again. You know what I mean? So that is what the time right after the full moon feels like. And then that is followed by the low energy new moon. And in the low energy new moon, it doesn't mean that it's a bad time. It just means that it's a time full of insight. And it's a time of inaction. So you shouldn't be overdoing it, you should be thinking about your next steps. You should be thinking about what to manifest next and how to move on from here. Like, how can I manifest feeling innerly balanced? How can I manifest being more patient, being more kind, being more compassionate, feeling fulfilled on a day-to-day basis? How can I do that? And those are questions that you ask on the new moon, and that you kind of open yourself up for more downloads, because those are not questions that I could answer you. Those are questions that are to be divinely asked, because you need a divine answer to that. And I'm not talking about a specific divinity. I'm just talking about the divine source, divine knowledge, divine everything, divine universe, right? So I just think that it is so inspiring to see what kind of all those motivational nudges that you get on the full moon, and to like make the best out of them. And everything seems to be like, after the chaos, everything seems to be like you get a runner's high, and it just all goes smoothly. And then on a new moon, it's just like, so you go in hermit mode, asking yourself the deeper questions in life that then lead to taking the action. So if you ever think that going with the moon cycles is not the natural thing to do, then what are you doing with your life? I feel that as a woman specifically, if you are divinely aligned, your period is always going to be aligned with the moon cycles. So I don't even need to look in like a cycle calendar to like kind of mark when I get my period, because I know just based by looking at the moon when I'm going to get my period. When I don't see the moon, that is when I'm bleeding. When I see the full moon, that is when it's hurting because I'm ovulating. And it's been this way for like maybe 2 years, because I did take the contraception pill for like 6 years, and that is the worst thing that you can do. It's even blocking your feminine wisdom and power to come to fruition. So if you're on the pill, you should get off the pill. Most definitely. Try to find a different way that works for you, but don't do the contraceptive ones. And since my body then regulated after this 6-year shock, ever since then, my period is very steady. It's never off. It's always around the new moon time. You cannot tell me that that's a coincidence, because the new moon time is not always on the same day. It's not, because it's a 28 point something cycle. So I am really glad that seeing that the more you align yourself with the universe, the more you become one with the divine source, the more you know, the more you see, the more you experience. And remember that experiencing is learning by heart, and knowledge is learning by mind, right? So, all right. I just need you to take one thing out of today's episode, and that is, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like the decision can wait for 2 more weeks to be taken, or maybe this situation will not bother you anymore in 2 weeks, take those 2 weeks and see what happens. Either way, you're going to get divinely blessed with a lot more knowledge, a lot more wisdom, and then definitely better results after taking the educated decision. All right, guys, if you love the pod at least half as much as I do, then please rate it 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Podcast, like and subscribe on YouTube, and I'm sure that everything will turn out just fine as long as you're guided by the universe. Bye!